Sandy employees, welcome to our discrimination and harassment training. First, we will discuss employment discrimination. What is employment discrimination? It is defined as bias in employment practices such as interviewing and hiring, promotion, opportunity, and disability leave. Employment discrimination also includes workplace harassment. For discrimination to be considered illegal or actionable, it must be based on one or more of the following protected categories or classes: race, color, religion, sex, pregnancy, childbirth, or pregnancy-related conditions, national origin, age, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, genetics, protected veteran status, or any other class protected by applicable federal, state, and local employment laws. These protected categories are collectively protected under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, as well as the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA, and the Age Discrimination in Employment Act, ADEA. These acts protect employees from discrimination in any element of employment, including recruiting, hiring and firing, compensation, assignment and classification of employees, transfer, promotion, layoff or recall, training and apprenticeship programs, testing, use of company facilities, fringe benefits, pay, retirement plans and disability leave, or other aspects of employment. Title VII, the ADA, and the ADEA also prohibit the following forms of employment discrimination: harassment based on any of the protected classes listed previously, retaliation against any employee for complaining of discrimination, filing a discrimination charge, or participating in a discrimination investigation, employment decisions that are based on stereotypes or assumptions and beliefs about the abilities, traits, or performance of individuals of a certain race, color, national origin, sex, religion, or persons with a disability, employment decisions based on pregnancy, childbirth, or a medical condition related to pregnancy or childbirth, denial of employment to a person of an association with or marriage to an individual of a certain race, religion, or national origin, or a person with a disability, discrimination based on participation in certain schools or places of worship associated with a particular racial, ethnic, or religious group. Next, let us discuss sexual harassment. What is sexual harassment? Technically speaking, sexual harassment is any form of sex discrimination that violates Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. But more specifically, sexual harassment refers to any unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and any verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature that negatively affects either the victim or other employees by creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work environment. Sexual harassment can occur under a wide range of circumstances. The victim can be either a man or a woman, of the same or opposite sex as the harasser, a person negatively affected by the offensive conduct without being the one who was directly harassed. The harasser can be a man or a woman, or the victim's supervisor, or another employee, either management or a coworker, or a non-employee such as a customer or a member of the public. There are two types of sexual harassment: quid pro quo and hostile work environment. Quid pro quo is Latin for this for that. This occurs when decisions regarding employment, such as compensation, promotion, transfers, and termination, are based upon whether an employee will submit to sexual advances. It can also refer to a situation in which submission to or rejection of sexual conduct is made a condition of employment. This form of harassment can be explicit or implicit. Key points to remember about quid pro quo harassment are: quid pro quo means this for that. It refers to sexual favors demanded in return for a job benefit. It refers to situations in which submission to or rejection of sexual advances is used for a basis of employment decisions, and it can be explicit or implicit. Next is hostile work environment. This type of sexual harassment occurs when unwelcome sexual conduct interferes with an individual's job performance and creates an environment that is intimidating, offensive, or hostile. A hostile work environment form of harassment is sometimes more subtle and may be difficult to recognize. It comes in the form of jokes, suggestive materials, emails, accidental bumping of another, physical interference with one passing another, cartoons, terms of endearment, etc. Some are more pervasive. This includes sexually derogatory comments, repeated requests for sexual favors, repeated requests for dates, lewd acts, etc. This behavior is unlawful whether it results from one incident or when it is repeated. As is the case with quid pro quo harassment, it is the victim's perception that is important when determining whether the work environment was hostile or offensive. The intent of the harasser is irrelevant. Even someone who was not the direct victim of harassment can still file a complaint. Examples of sexual harassment: requests for sexual favors, unwelcome sexual advances, suggested or lewd remarks, unwanted hugs, touches or kisses, an unwanted neck or shoulder massage, deliberately brushing up against a person, invading a person's body space or standing closer than appropriate or necessary, leering at a person's body, retaliation for complaining about sexual harassment, and visual displays of degrading or offensive sexual images, such as posters, cartoons, drawings, or email messages. Sexually suggestive or degrading jokes. This includes jokes sent over email. Remember, even if you received a forward and thought it was funny, your coworkers may not feel the same. Always err on the side of caution when sending an email. Offensive or degrading jokes can constitute hostile work environment. Spreading rumors about a person's sexuality or sexual involvement. Sexual jokes, comments, gestures, or noises. Repeatedly asking a person out for dates, even after being refused. Intrusive and sexually explicit questions, threats of a sexual nature, an attempted or actual sexual assault. The impact of sexual harassment. Sexual harassment in the workplace impacts the victim as well as the organization in which it occurs. The impact on the victim. Sexual harassment can be a stressful and traumatic experience. A victim of sexual harassment may experience or feel anxiety, depression, sleep disturbance, weight loss or gain, headaches, fear of retaliation, loss of self-esteem, stress-related physical symptoms, a drop in work performance, lost wages, or a sense of a need to resign to avoid the harassment. The consequences of sexual harassment. The consequences for the harasser. Sexual harassment is a serious violation and calls for the enforcement of significant disciplinary measures. For perpetrators, the disciplinary measures that may be enforced include termination or forced resignation, personal liability for damages, including, by virtue of the Civil Rights Act of 1991, liability for compensatory damages up to $300,000 and jury trials, demotion or denial of a promotion, negative evaluations, poor recommendations, public embarrassment and a bad reputation, strains on family and work relationships, or any other disciplinary measure as determined by the employer and/or the courts. Let us now discuss the common myths about sexual harassment. Myth number 1. Harassers generally will stop on their own, as they often believe that when people ignore their behavior, it is ineffective. Actually, when harassment is ignored, it often continues and becomes worse. Myth number 2. The most common motivation for sexual harassment is sexual desire. Actually, the most common motivation for sexual harassment is power and aggression and control, not sexual desire. Myth number 3, sexual harassment is harmless. Actually, harassment is humiliating, frightening, and can result in depression, decreased motivation, and even health problems. Myth number 4, as long as there is no coercion, there is no sexual harassment problem in asking a coworker out for a date. Actually, asking a coworker on a date is not considered harassment unless the employee continues to ask even after a person has made it clear that the advances are unwelcome. Myth number 5, people who complain about sexual harassment have no sense of humor. Actually, the difference between good-natured, harmless fun and sexual harassment is how it makes other people feel. Now let us discuss Sandy City policy. It is the city's policy to regard sexual harassment as a very serious matter and to prohibit it in the workplace or among the workforce by any person and in any form. The city also prohibits inappropriate sexual conduct, which includes, but is not limited to, unwelcome sexual flirtations, advances, propositions, or touching, verbal or written abuse of a sexual nature, graphic verbal comments about an individual's body, sexually degrading words used to describe an individual, display in the workplace of sexually suggestive objects or pictures, and other conduct of a sexual nature which is inappropriate for the workplace. Each employee is responsible for creating an atmosphere free of discrimination and harassment, sexual or otherwise unlawful, and for respecting the rights of their coworkers. Again, let us review the protected classes from Title VII. Race, color, religion, sex, pregnancy, childbirth, or pregnancy-related conditions, national origin, age, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, genetics, protected veteran status, or any other class protected by applicable federal, state, and local employment laws. The Sandy City Complaint Procedure. If you feel you have been subjected to or witnessed any job-related harassment based on sex, race, or any other protected characteristic listed above, or believe you or someone else has been treated in an unlawful or discriminatory manner, you shall file an oral or written complaint of harassment, discrimination, or retaliation, or all of the above, with the Division of Human Resources, your immediate supervisor, or any other supervisor within your direct chain of command. If the investigation concludes that an employee has inappropriately harassed or discriminated against another person, appropriate disciplinary action will be taken against the offending employee up to and including termination. The city prohibits any form of retaliation against you for filing a complaint under this policy or for assisting in a complaint investigation. This is the guide for understanding sexual harassment or other unlawful treatment. This form is available in Human Resources and is also attached to this training. This training goes over the fact that Sandy City is an equal opportunity employer and does not discriminate based on the protected classes. It also explains sexual harassment and the two different types of sexual harassment, as well as giving different examples. This form also goes through the employee complaint procedure. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact Human Resources. Next, how to deal with harassment. Let us first watch how to use our grandma filter.
On the surface, reaction 3, I am who I am, take it or leave it, is an honest, straightforward way to live. But does that mean you never change your behavior? You never edit what you say or do to avoid offending others?
Oh, gosh! Son of a big gorilla!
Most of us instinctively adjust our behavior to fit our surroundings. We filter what we say and do. Most of us.
George was a much greatly admired friend of all.
Hello!
We Oh, hey, what's up with you? What? Oh, no, nothing really. It's just a family thing. No big deal.
We all know people who are missing some critical social filters. They seem to be unaware of where they are or who they are with.
Are you kidding? I don't know half these people. Okay, yeah.
Whatever pops into their head comes straight out of their mouth. Filters are a natural part of life as a social human being. At work, these same filters are the key to putting our sexuality on hold and showing respect to others. For example, let's say you think someone you work with would enjoy a suggestive cartoon or email. Before you send it, ask yourself, would I send this to my grandma? This is appropriately called the grandma filter. Or let's say you think someone you work with looks particularly attractive one day. Rather than offering a suggestive remark about your coworker's body, ask yourself, how would I compliment my grandma?
That's a pretty outfit.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. It was on sale.
See how it works? Compliment someone's fashion, not their body. Or better yet, compliment their work rather than their appearance. When in doubt, ask yourself,
Would you say that to your grandma? If the answer is no, don't say it, don't send it, or do it. Because you know better.
To avoid being accused of harassment, ask yourself these questions. Would I want any of my behaviors to appear on the evening news or to be known by my mother or spouse? Is there equal power between me and the person I am interacting with? Would I want someone else to act this way toward a person I am in a relationship with? Could my behavior make others around me uncomfortable? By assessing your attitudes and cultural values and beliefs, you can begin to determine ways to improve your own behavior, which will in turn improve your working relationship with your coworkers and help to ensure that you don't lead your company to court. Preventing discrimination or harassment at work. Let us consider this self-assessment. Speak up when you see inappropriate behavior occurring around you. We want a workplace where everyone is comfortable coming to work. Be mindful of space. People will give you nonverbal cues, such as turning their body away from you or not putting their arm around you. Look for these types of behaviors. Be mindful of speech. Take humor and sarcasm, for example. If you're just a nickname kind of person or like to be sarcastic, it might be okay to ask permission first, or once it slips out, ask if your nickname or comment was okay. You can read nonverbal cues here too. Facial expressions and body language can signify if they're uncomfortable. Share with people that you're always interested to hear if you do offend. Be open to feedback and use your nonverbal cues to show you're taking it all in and giving them your full attention. Also, evaluate pictures, memes, and quotes for inappropriate content. Never email or show anything with images or words that remotely come anything close to a body part. Refrain from anything suggestive, such as sexualized images of your favorite actor, for example. Keep at home. At functions where there's alcohol, strictly limit consumption. Lowered inhibitions are the breeding ground for problems. Certainly, you may very well become friends with people from work, and sometimes your relationship becomes more about friendship than the work relationship. It's important to remember, though, that no matter how good of friends you are, as long as you work together, your friendship is dictated by your workplace policies. So there's a level of professionalism that always has to be there. Remember to use your grandma filter. Supervisor responsibilities. Monitor workplace behavior and enforce respect. Treat all complaints seriously and confidentially. Do not ignore any allegations. Respond to all allegations immediately. Investigate as appropriate. Take appropriate corrective action and follow up. Ensure no retaliation, and document your actions. We should all be examples of our Sandy City Aspire values: accountability, safety and security, people-focused, integrity, respect, and excellence. Sandy employees are a team committed to enhancing the quality of life in our community through service, partnership, and progress. Thank you for listening to this training. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact Human Resources. Thanks.